Good evening with the Monday, October 2nd edition of the CBC Evening News. I am Ryan Broom. In our top story, the Finance Minister says the recently implemented budgetary measures are working as intended. According to Minister Chris Sinclair, initial reports are positive, even though there were some minor implementation issues.
In terms of the foreign exchange fee that we had to put on, as you know, we had to phase that in two. Deal with the overall stuff first and then deal with the credit cards after. So that will, of course, that delay would shave a little bit off of what we expected to get. But by and large, from the figures I've seen, preliminary though they are, it seems as though we are pretty much where we expected to be, and if all goes well, we should get what we expected to get.
Minister Sinclair also predicts that the positive economic growth seen in the last 10 quarters will continue.
Of course, because we have such a tight fiscal program, demand is going to be constrained. And once demand is constrained in an economy like Barbados, it is likely that growth is going to come back. We don't think that is going to be as significant as some people are pointing out, as much as 1 and 1.5%. We believe it will be about 0.5 to 0.7%. So we wouldn't get 2% growth as was originally predicted at the beginning of the year before there was this budget. We're likely to get anywhere between 1.5 to 1.7. I think that's where the central bank and the others are projecting it, but we'll wait and see how that comes out.
In other news, scores of U.S. Virgin Islanders are in Barbados seeking refuge following the destruction of Hurricane Irma last month. Kareem Smith has more.
Arriving on our shores from the ravages of this year's hurricane season are a number of British Virgin Islanders in need of refuge. It comes in the face of total devastation at the hands of Hurricane Irma. They've arrived from the streets of Tortola with the help of personnel from the Barbados Defense Force who've been working around the clock to help restore the country to normalcy. At the airport, Director of the CARICOM Relief Unit, Lieutenant Commander Graham Rashford, says it's a pleasure to get fellow Caribbean neighbors to safety.
Many of the houses were destroyed. Many of the essential services were also not available, so there was no water, no electricity. We spent basically 23 days in theater, and unfortunately they still barely have a little running water and some electricity at the major places like the hospital and so on, which they've managed to restore. However, they still have not restored all of those major services.
Lieutenant Rashford says the team has also been assisting a number of Dominicans who lost their homes to Hurricane Maria while they were volunteering in Tortola. He says the experience is giving him a more practical understanding of the need for stronger integration and all-round support by CARICOM nations for fellow CARICOM nations.
It's important for us to help each other as member states of CARICOM because today is Tortola, tomorrow is Dominica, the next day may be Barbados.
Barbadian soldiers, Coast Guard, police and fire service officials remain on the ground in a number of Caribbean countries, lending assistance wherever it's needed. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
Thanks, Kareem. Well, in other news, Minister of Education Ronald Jones is renewing his commitment to assisting students from hurricane-ravaged Caribbean countries. He says 50 more students from Dominica will be enrolled at the Barbados Community College to complete their associate degree programs within the next week.
Dominica has gone through an awful tragedy brought on by the hurricane, and all of the neighbors, all of those in CARICOM, all of those in this part of the world should do whatever they can to assist. And at our level, the level of the education, the level of the government, that is what we're seeking to do. Hopefully there will be some 50 of those to be a part of the community college program. And we've put a lot of things in place already to seek to accommodate those.
And the Education Minister says places in the island secondary schools are limited, but the ministry is trying to accommodate as many primary school students as possible. Apart from providing places within the schools, he's also calling for Barbadians to lend tangible assistance to the younger victims of this year's hurricane season.
I would love to see our children even go a bit further than they have been doing in the schools, but to gather enough resources that can be shared with other children in Dominica when, at least, it may not be now in the instant, but when they're up and going exercise books they're going to need, a whole lot of other stuff they're going to need. And I would like the children of Barbados to contribute to that effort. We do not know what will befall us eventually. We can't always escape the wrath of, the weather, and therefore when something happens, we would want others to come to our aid, come to our rescue as well.
In other news now, penalties could be levied against utility companies that dig up freshly laid roads through a new piece of proposed legislation. The Street Works Act will ensure there is coordination between the utilities saving new roads. Minister of Transport and Works, Michael Lashley, provided some insight into the proposed act as he addressed the St. Michael's Southeast branch meeting at the Parkinson School.
There are pieces of legislation out there that allow them to do it, but they have to notify the Chief Technical Officer on the Highways Act. But we want to consolidate it in one piece of legislation called the Street Works Act, which obviously would now tidy up things and bring all these matters into one straight line so that we can have proper coordination. And that they too will have a responsibility, a further responsibility under the law, to bring back or put back the state of the road in the condition that it was in before, with some other severe penalties too.
And the Democratic Labour Party is confident it can wrestle the constituency of St. Michael's Southeast from the Barbados Labour Party. The DLP is banking on its candidate, community practitioner Rodney Grant. Former MP for the area, Hamilton Lashley, described Grant as a man of the constituency and a prized candidate.
When the returning officer comes on that step of the Parkinson Secondary School, he will announce that I now declare Mr. Rodney Orlando Grant the new representative of St. Michael's Southeast. And what they will also be saying that it was that the young lady who ran against him barely saved her deposit.
In other news now, Minister of Labour Senator Dr. Esther Bayer-Suckoo has called the parties involved in the CBC pay dispute back to the table. The Labour Minister says she had suggested an approach on September 26th to both sides, but it was not considered for further negotiation at that time. She says communication with both sides now suggests that the time has come for this matter to be revisited. Dr. Bayer-Suckoo says she's looking forward to a speedy and amicable resolution and to the return of the CBC on a footing from which the operation can work towards financial recovery. The meeting is scheduled for Wednesday at 10 a.m. here at the CBC. Some CBC staffers have been off the job since last Wednesday as a result of the impasse. In other news, Barbadians have been having their say on the ongoing industrial action at the state-owned Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation.
Hear that the workers in strike because they don't have any money to pay them, which is bad. We should have money.
I miss morning Barbados. I really do. I guess there's no way it got bad. You don't know what we're going to come, you know?
It's a case whereby I think that both the union and CBC may have all the valid points in terms of their arguments, but in the interest of getting the situation solved, it's going to take some give and take and some compromise probably on both ends. And it's a situation where we on the outside don't know all the details.
Well, we take a pause here, but we'll have more news after the break.
Support the restoration efforts for the hundreds of thousands affected by catastrophic hurricanes. Donate to the Red Cross Hurricane Relief account at any branch of the following: CIBC First Caribbean, account number 10011633436. First Citizens, 500-900-00588. RBC Royal Bank, 210-05073. And Republic Bank, 01804-153-1001. Monies raised will be sent to the International Red Cross for its restoration work for affected persons. Appeal closes 30th November 2017. Persons wishing to post checks should make these out to Red Cross Hurricane Relief Appeal account and post to Barbados Red Cross Society, P.O. Box 300 Bridgetown, or hand deliver to the Red Cross Warrens headquarters. The Barbados Red Cross and commercial banks, on behalf of the victims of catastrophic hurricanes, thank all persons and businesses for their contributions.
Do you want audience numbers? Over 140,000 people are watching Morning Barbados and the evening news. 6 out of 10 top radio personalities are found right here at the CBC. CBC delivers the audience you need.
Watch Get Healthy Barbados for the latest news from the Ministry of Health and tips on how to eat healthy and keep fit. Don't miss it every Tuesday night at 8:30 and repeated every Friday at 10:30 a.m.
Welcome back. Well, young people are being encouraged to be mindful of the impact of their actions on the environment. The advice from Minister of Youth Stephen Lashley during the National Youth Consultation held as part of activities for Youth Week. Sharika Griffith has more.
Young people need to have more input in issues relating to sustainable development. That was the essence of the National Youth Consultation, organized by the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth in collaboration with the Ministry of Environment and Drainage. It was attended by secondary and tertiary students as well as out-of-school youth. During her opening remarks, CARICOM Youth Ambassador Zuina Perry commended the initiative, as she notes that in the past, young people were seldom engaged in key decision-making.
In thinking of having a sustainable future, I am glad that this outdated thinking is being laid to rest, even if it is feeling a bit slowly. The inclusion of youth in discussions about our future, whether nationally, regionally, or globally, on any issue, can no longer afford to be an afterthought. Youth are a key population, often underutilized and misrepresented, as persons attempt to youth-splain rather than actually listen to what we have to say.
Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth Stephen Lashley says the consultation is in keeping with Goal 14 of the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, and it involves getting young people to better protect the environment. He says Barbados has been experiencing great success in meeting some of the country-level goals. The minister wants young Barbadians to be mindful of the impact of their actions on the environment, especially in light of this year's overactive hurricane season.
The recent hurricanes are indeed grim reminders of our vulnerability as small island states. It is therefore, in my view, incumbent on all of us, and particularly on you, our young people, to pay urgent attention to the issue of climate change and to participate actively in the protection of the environment, to protect our planet and enhance the well-being of our brothers and sisters at the national, regional, and international levels.
Minister Lashley also used the occasion to encourage the participants of the workshop to begin fashioning ideas to solve problems facing the country.
Barbados has fastly got to become a country where things happen quicker, and there's a much more efficient utilization of our time and resources. These are issues of you, the young people of Barbados.
The consultation forms part of activities to celebrate Youth Week. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Thanks, Sharika. Well, residents of Speightstown are expected to take over the hosting of the monthly Speightstown Sizzling event. Word of this from Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Tourism Product Authority, Dr. Kerry Hall. She says the event has been very successful in drawing attention to the northern town.
There's been some interest by a few of the cruise ships in terms of the ships that are going to stay overnight, have expressed an interest, so we're going to be exploring that as well to give, working with the taxi men to create some packages. So that is an event that brings some life to the north and it also showcases one of our quaint historic port towns, one of our major port towns in Barbados. So we'll continue. We're trying to hand it over to the community. The major reason I started Spice Town Sizzling was to create a community tourism event where eventually we would empower the community to take it over and then they will run it. So we're still in stages of doing that in terms of dialoguing with the community and finding a way that we will eventually do that. But we will continue to make sure that that event remains alive because we believe it adds to the body of experiences on the island.
Barbados will on Friday host the first Caribbean Peace Conference. This was revealed today by coordinator of the Caribbean chapter of the International Network in Defense of Humanity, Attorney-at-Law David Kamishong. He outlined the reasons behind the upcoming event during a media conference.
In a sense as well, this conference is yet another attempt by us to bring the Caribbean together around a people's movement. And you know, if we really think about it, the number one thing that we need to be doing in Barbados and in the Caribbean is really mobilizing our people behind a people-centered, progressive agenda of peace and development.
Well, representatives from 9 different territories, including Cuba, the United States, and Venezuela, will be in attendance. The conference is being held at the NUPW auditorium. Well, still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region.
The Salvation Army Barbados Division takes this time to appeal to all Barbadians to support this effort to help our Caribbean brothers and sisters in Dominica, who are desperately in need of the following items: canned foods and other non-perishable foods, bottled water, Pampers, children and adults, children educational material, bed cots. These items can be donated to the Salvation Army at their other institutions across Barbados, or call 426-2467 or 228-1361, and arrangements will be made to collect these donations. Please note no clothing necessary. We also welcome any monetary donations to this effort through our local account at Scotiabank, account number 000-901-9858. The Salvation Army Appeal.
It's 7 a.m. on the compound of Sidel Bank, and Ryan Yard is on the job, maintaining the surroundings. Over at TT Electronics, a company that manufactures capacitors for export, Marjorie Hurley is on the production line.
If you look at our physical landscape, we look at development of office space, office buildings. A lot of that has come about because of the impact of the international business sector.
Presidia, the personal accident coverage from Guardian Life. Live secure. Live easy.
As recovery work continues in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, a hotline has been set up to assist in the delivery of aid and relief supplies. Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Joanne Commodore, says the new hotline, along with a new email, will provide an avenue for Dominicans to register their queries, concerns, and seek clarification on all matters in regard to post-Hurricane Maria efforts.
The numbers are 1767 277 8667, 1767 277 8667, 1767 285 0989, 1767 285 0989, and the last one 1767 614 3000, 1767 614 3000, and the email address is domeocmaria@gmail.com.
And in Puerto Rico, 2 weeks after Hurricane Maria devastated the island, more than 75% of Puerto Ricans are still without electricity and clean drinking water. U.S. President Donald Trump is due to visit tomorrow, but he has recently been firing negative comments at the mayor there.
Well, after his tweets this weekend, Chris John, several people told me things that I could not repeat to you on television. It's uncertain if the president will get a warm response. What is certain is that Puerto Ricans will welcome any help that they can get. Here in San Juan, there certainly are signs of progress. We saw one unfold before our eyes in the past few moments. When we arrived at this Walmart in downtown San Juan, the line here was hundreds of people deep, and it curved around the block, and we slowly watched it disappear. People were able to get inside. Hopefully, once they do get in, they'll be able to find some of the products that they need. You mentioned some of the key numbers when it comes to recovery and the progress that's being made, that uptick in the number of homes and businesses that have electricity. Right now, about 70% of the gas stations here are functioning. Some 65% of grocery stores are open. But that's in very busy areas, in urban areas. If you go out further into the rural part of Puerto Rico, where we visited yesterday, things are still pretty bleak. We went into a neighborhood yesterday where a Korean war veteran lived with his wife, Jose and Lidia, and they were made homeless by Hurricane Maria. A tree went straight through their living room, and now they are not sure exactly what to do. They said they registered with FEMA, but not a single FEMA official or local official even has gone into their neighborhood to survey damage or offer them any kind of aid. Right now, they're living with a neighbor, and they're uncertain about what their future is going to be. They are hoping that President Trump comes to the island and offers them some assistance.
Well, sports news is just ahead with Mark Seal, but first, a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
This tip of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Insurance is the most widely used method of financing risk. Many persons only appreciate the importance of insurance when they suffer loss or damage to their personal property or possessions. Cooperators General Insurance, ensuring you are protected during this hurricane season.